Bingo Blitz rules.
If your bingo has ads in it,
That's not a bingo.
if it doesn't have the coolest tournaments, mini games, and the most breathtaking design,
Nope, not a bingo.
if your bingo moment makes you feel so excited that you just want to burst in joy and scream out loud, bingo! Sorry, so you're playing...
Bingo Blitz? Now that's a bingo. Go for a world of excitement with Bingo Blitz, the #1 free bingo game. Download Bingo Blitz and play for free.
Now that's a bingo.
Streaming December 12th on Peacock. Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie are back
That's hot. Loves it.
for a show-stopping reunion that will prove putting on an opera is anything but simple.
We're really good at this.
One thing's for sure, they won't be upstaged.
Good to have you back. Come on, we've got a show to do.
Paris and Nicole, The Encore, a 3-part reunion special, streaming December 12th, only on Peacock.
Let's hang out. And let's talk about what Leslie's about. Let's hang out. And let's listen to two lesbians shout. Let's hang out. Let's hang out.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Les Hang Out, the podcast that only recently discovered electricity.
I cannot. Bing! That was a light bulb going.
It's made podcasting so much easier you can't even
I
imagine.
don't have to crank this mic.
From the West Coast, I'm Lee Holmes Foster.
And from the East Coast, I'm Ellie Brigida. To those of you who have been with us through this whole journey, thank you as always for listening. If you're a new listener, welcome. We're excited to have you here. And here's what's happening this week.
This week in the Lesdom.
This Week in the Lesdom is a place where we can touch base each episode about things going on with the podcast or otherwise. And friends, we are really in the home stretch. The Flame is coming out so soon, June 2nd. You need to be there. Make sure you subscribe. We're also doing listening parties on Zoom, so check our Eventbrite for tickets to those.
We also want to remind you that we have our next event coming up this weekend. We will be at the LGBTQ Family and Influencers Summit that's being put on by the Pride and Joy Foundation. We are so excited. They have so many cool things lined up. So if you have not checked it out yet, make sure you look that up, and we'd love to see you there.
And June is a very, very exciting time for us. We have Porch Pride in collaboration with Remo Pride on June 5th. And we were not kidding. We have some incredible guest announcements. All of these guests will be doing meet and greets for the charity of their choice. If you want to get a VIP ticket, you get early access to the meet and greets. Otherwise, you can get them whenever they come out. But without further ado, here are the meet and greets for Porch Pride. We have Vico Ortiz. We have Natasha Negavanlis. We have Maddie freaking Phillips. We have Devin Ibanez, one of our favorite previous guests. And Two Mommies and a Baby will be there to host a queer parenting panel. It's going to be such a blast, so we cannot wait to see you all there. And we also have an after-hours comedy show with Kai Choice and some other comedians who will be announced later.
We also have even more trivia coming up. So if you had such a blast at our Teenage Bounty Hunters trivia that just happened, we are also going to be doing Pride trivia with Aeronaut Brewing. That's going to be coming up on June 24th. You do not want to miss it.
In the greater Les universe, Lauren Morelli and Samira Wiley surprised us with a baby.
Surprise!
Kept
Look at
that really under wraps. And now we have this cute, this beautiful queer baby. And I'm just
Ellie's just going to go cry for a couple minutes.
I'm just
It's
going to
okay.
cry. It makes me so happy. So congratulations to Lauren and Samira, our good friends, you know. Congrats. We're so
Congrats,
happy for
you
you.
two. Meanwhile, this news makes me so happy, which is that Margot Robbie so desperately keeps begging for them to make a movie with Harley Quinn that Poison Ivy is in. And so we just want to say, like, yes, thank you for fighting for the queer rep that we need on our screens. And please let us know who they are casting. We are ready anytime that you can make this happen. Margot Robbie will be there.
Call my agent. I'm in. Love you, Margot. That's what's happening this week. Back to you, Ellie and Lee.
Thanks, Ellie and Lee. We are so excited to bring you episode 19. We are almost at the end of the season. Season 4 closing up soon. This is episode 19, The Gay-teen Hundreds.
Oh my God. I've been waiting all season to talk about this, to be honest.
Listen. We had so much fun ranting about the cheating on your husband's trope that we just decided we wanted to do a whole other episode, like just complaining for a while.
Let's tackle this other trope. To be fair, there are some good period pieces. We're going to be talking
there's some great
about
ones.
lesbian period pieces, and I think why some work and why some don't. And also why I'm over them.
It's
And
not
why
that
I
we're not going to
never
have
wanna see
anything
one
good to
again.
say. Some of these are fantastic and we love them. But we do want to talk about lesbian period pieces a little bit because, go figure, we have some thoughts.
I also would like to say, why are there not very many gay male period pieces?
I mean, there are. I just feel like they're not. Like, I feel like gay
Name 'em.
male period pieces.
Name 'em.
No, you're right. There aren't. I thought you said male. I didn't even hear gay. I was like, there are, like, male period pieces. They're just all like, I'm a dirty, grimy Western hero with a hat and a 6-shooter on my hip and a horse named Joe, and we're gonna clean this town up.
Yeah, but like gay men don't really exist in these period pieces. In
Look, I'm gonna say Brokeback Mountain.
Brokeback Mountain, I will say Bridgerton has some gay stuff in it.
Sure.
And maybe I'm just not as well versed in gay male stuff. If there's more gay men period pieces. But like the list of lesbian period pieces that we have.
Yeah.
Also, did you put Tell It to the Bees on here? Add it.
I didn't quite finish, so there's more. I was just trying to give us at least like a, introductory list.
There's so much. So let's talk. Let's first of all give our introductory list of, if you're a listener and you watch lesbian films, you know lesbian period pieces exist and they exist in excess. But just to make sure we all know, let's talk
Are you rapping for us again?
Let's name, yeah, should I do another rap? Yeah. Carol, tipping the velvet. Fingersmith. Wait, Fingersmith also is like the best name for a film. The World Unseen, The Secret Diaries of Miss Ann Lister / Gentleman Jack, Portrait of a Lady on Fire, Ammonite, The Favorite, Colette, Dickinson / Wild Nights with Emily, Fried Green Tomatoes, The World to Come, and Tell It to the Bees.
And here, you want to know why Tell It to the Bees isn't on here? Is because honestly, I made the list only with ones that I have seen or like vaguely know most of the story of. So that's just the ones. That's just the ones that like I could think of. That's the off the top of my head list of them. There's more. I know there's more because I looked up lists and there were a bunch on the list that I just haven't even seen yet.
So many.
It's
And to be fair, we've covered a lot of them as Les Essentials. We love Portrait of a Lady on Fire. We love Carol. We love The Favorite. I could go without Ammonite, but
But Ammonite, let's start there because obviously, part of the motivation also to finally do an episode on this is the SNL skit that they did recently.
That SNL
kind of making
skit
fun of this whole thing.
Sent me to my grave.
Right? So for anyone who didn't see it, there's an SNL skit that was kind of all making fun of the tendency for Hollywood to produce many lesbian period pieces that can all sort of be summed up with the same ridiculous plot points. And to just have two straight actresses sharing furtive glances in a time that doesn't accept their love, and, it is...
Painful.
It is a thing. It is a thing. And so I think that certainly, you can't ignore the fact that I think even more mainstream media is starting to notice. Like, it's not like we haven't known. Queer women have been aware of this trend for a while, but it feels like it's getting worse. Is it just me? I feel like it's getting worse.
It
like,
is getting
there's
worse.
more.
It is getting worse, and I will say the reason that it's getting worse is because, I swear to God, these straight directors, Ammonite, directed by a man, watched Portrait of a Lady on Fire and were like, wow, the most incredibly beautiful, moving picture, which is true because, and they copied Portrait of a Lady on Fire, right? They took all the elements from Portrait of a Lady on Fire, but they took out the fact that, hey, it was written and directed by a queer woman.
Right. You take out all of the gay behind the camera and suddenly it's a different movie.
And suddenly it just feels different, right? And so that, I think, is my big issue with these, is that they're like, okay, let's cast these super, like, famous straight actresses and, like, throw them in this thing. And it's also the fact that, like, they all copy the same formula. That's my biggest problem with specifically Ammonite and The World to Come, which were the two big ones that came out this year. To be fair, I fell asleep during The World to Come. I'm sorry. Like, I know so many lesbians love these period pieces. And like,
And we do too.
And
we
that's
do
fine.
too.
Like, if you are a person who like loves the longing, loves the glances, I get it. But I'm also just like personally, I'm just personally done with it. My girlfriend loves sad lesbian movies. Like,
Yeah.
every time we
Here's-
watch a lesbian movie, she's like, hey, let's watch this. I love it. And she shows it to me and I'm like, you realize that's the most depressing film I've ever seen.
Here's something that I think is funny is when you look at the lesbian period piece formula, right? The formula could work, right?
Yes.
It's not like this is not a formula that exists in straight movies. Period pieces exist. Period pieces are a thing. There is a reason that these movies are popular. And I think part of the reason that they're popular is forbidden love works. Forbidden love is exciting, is angsty, is emotional. It makes you sad and it pulls at your heartstrings. And like all of those things work in principle. But here's the problem with the lesbian period piece. There's no happy endings, right? Like, usually, I get it. Sometimes people are gonna want to watch your Romeo and Juliet and have the big angsty, emotional movie that ends sadly and you cry and everything is terrible and it's a tragedy. But also, sometimes people want to watch that to see them get on a horse and ride off together and leave behind the shackles of the town they were in that wouldn't let them be together, or the families that didn't understand their love. Sometimes you want that. And you know what you never get when
That.
the lesbians... That, man, they're not riding off on a horse together. It's like the horse trampled one of them to death, and then the other one is really sad, and then the horse died, and it was her favorite horse, and now her lover and her horse are dead, and then she, like, jumps off a cliff. And you're like, why?
Why? I
Why
will say,
again?
honorable mention to Gentleman Jack
No, yes.
for having a happy ending, for having an engagement.
It's even as
having
I
a
was saying it, that
wedding.
was in my head, because I feel like it's one of the few on this list that's gonna get like that happy.
But
I'm like
agreed.
scrolling through the rest of them real quick. Gentleman Jack, I think, and it's one of the reasons that to me I loved Gentleman Jack. I loved it. That final scene of the two of them and they're getting married and only they know, and you get the same furtive glances and the same
forbidden
meaningful
love.
looks and the same forbidden love, but they're so happy, and her little top hat and her little jaunty stroll because she's so happy that she got married, and you're just like, oh, thank you.
Yes, exactly. So like that is the formula. The formula has mostly been no happy endings. However, you can do whatever the heck you want in a film. So how about give us more of those happy endings of Gentleman Jack? And I think the thing is too, like, I personally will harp on this till the day I die a sad lesbian death, because I guess that's how I'm gonna die. But
When you get trampled to death
When
by
I
a
get
horse,
trampled
Ellie,
to death by a
I'll
horse.
remember you fondly.
yeah. When I get cholera, I don't know, like I am not gonna make it. But but I'm fine with these films existing if we have the opposite.
Yeah.
Like, but we majority get these. And what freaking message does that send to queer viewers? Hey, you don't get a happy ending. I know we said this on the Klexicon panel that we had for The Flame, but it has wrecked me ever since. 5% of lesbian films or TV shows end with a happy ending. 5%.
Can you imagine if that statistic was true for straight movies? Like, can you imagine if every single straight movie was like a horrible, sad, depressing tragedy ending? Like, you wouldn't
people
go
go
to
to see
stand
it.
for it, you know? And I think that's the thing, is it's becoming more obvious. It's becoming more obvious because I think the thing is it feels like there's this huge trend right now of the same way that you've seen, you know, like Oscar fodder for years, that this is the current, like, this is how you get your Oscar, man. We're gonna
lesbians.
put some petticoats on you. You're gonna graze fingers with another A-list actress, and maybe maybe one steamy kiss somewhere. But mostly
Unless
you're just
you're
gonna have like
Ammonite.
your hair done badly and some smudges on, smudge some dirt on you, and there you go. Oscar season,
We've
here
got
we
an
come.
Oscar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm just sick of it. As a queer consumer of media, I'm sick of it.
I'm sick of so many parts of it. I'm sick of that part of it. I'm sick of the trend where it just feels like it's Oscar bait, I'm here for there being more lesbian movies. Like, that part of it I enjoy. There are more being made, in a general sense. The numbers are climbing. But then you look at them and so many of them are the same thing. And I'm like, listen, if I just wanted to watch a straight actress, like gaze across the room at another straight actress in 18 layers of petticoats, like, I can watch 6 other movies that are out right now. Like, it's just, I don't need this. No one needs this.
Yes.
Give me queer stories, like, give me queer people, give me queer actors, give me something different, something new.
Something new and fresh. Let's talk about some of the period pieces that we like and why we
Yes,
like
please.
them.
Oh my god.
Obviously,
I mean, the problem is I love a lot of these.
I love a lot of them. I mean, obviously, Carol was a big one. And that's the thing,
Yeah.
too. Okay, like, I really just feel like it almost cracks me up. Like, I'm envisioning all of these, like, big producers talking in this room, and they're like, oh, people loved Carol. Oh, let's make another Carol. And it's like, actually, how about just, like, leave us with Carol because it's such a great film? Like, you don't need to try to recreate Carol. Like, how about you give us something new, right? Or they're like, oh, everyone loved Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Let's make it again. Oh, like, The Favorite was a big hit. Let's make another, So it just cracks me up to just think of all these people talking in this room about, like, the lesbians will love it. And to be fair, we see every freaking movie you give us. But, like,
we do.
we support
We're
you. Can you
suckers.
support us, please?
But let's talk about what works in Carol. What makes Carol different? Other than, I mean, the obvious answer, Kate Blanchett.
Kate Blanchett, get it.
The obvious answer is we love Kate Blanchett. Put her in anything. You can't lose us.
What makes Carol different in general is I do feel like we get more happiness. Because, like, some, I know it's not a happy
Yeah.
ending, but I'm just saying, like, they do, like, have an interesting relationship. Like, they have moments of joy together. They have the whole thing in Waterloo. Like, there's definitely more, their relationship is more developed than some of these other ones that are just staring at each other.
They also, okay, I mean, I have 2 things that I think make it work for me. One, they have fantastic chemistry. Right? And that is something that's hard because when you look at a lot of these, even ones that have great actresses and that I love, like, sometimes it's just the chemistry isn't there for you. And you're like, your acting is fantastic. I do not buy that you are actually that invested in the romance that I'm supposed to buy from you, And that's hard. It just kind of, especially when it's like a forbidden love thing and it really has to happen, like, it has to happen in a split-second glance, a touch of a finger. Like, if it's not there, it's not there. And it just, the whole movie falls flat after that. So Carol, man, they have just
Such
great
good
chemistry. Like, such good chemistry. And that will go a long way to saving a movie, right? The other thing that I will say about Carol that I think works for me, that is not true of all of these. It is true for some of the other ones, and it's something else that I think would work for Genimal Jack for me, is sometimes there is something really fun and satisfying about a period piece with, like, a very confident queer character.
Yes. Because
Like,
Carol has an
is
ex.
ballsy. Yeah.
Like, Carol is an
like,
established queer.
established queer who is, like, has no qualms being like, oh, why don't you come by my house? Oh, why don't we take a weekend away together? Oh, why don't we I'll take these clothes off you and let's get in bed. I mean, like, she is laying it on thick. And that's fun. It's, Gentleman Jack hits the same note for me, where I'm like, it is fun watching Ann Lister saunter her way around fucking town, just, like, slapping men left and right and, like, hitting on every woman she comes across.
Yes. Well,
That's great.
Yes. I think for me, you really hit the nail on the head, and I didn't even realize it until now. I can't stand the two timid queers together.
Yes.
Where I'm
it
like, okay,
just
at least
doesn't
give
do
me
it for
one
me.
who's confident. At least give me one who like knows this is what she wants, rather than like they're both like feeling each other out. Like Carol from the beginning, she's like, I like you. Be my wife. And you're
Be
like, what?
my wife. Let's take a weekend trip together.
Yeah,
it
agreed.
It works, right?
Agreed.
Like it works.
So yeah, that's definitely the same about Gentleman Jack. Another thing that works that we talked about before that doesn't happen in enough of these is queer actors.
Yeah.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire worked because the actors only one of them queer and one of them isn't.
Yeah, one of them is.
But one of them is, one of them isn't. But still, chemistry, like you said, queer actors, queer director. You have like the queer experience somewhere in there. It feels more authentic, even though it's like not a time period we really can understand fully. But like we understand it because.
Well, and it's the thing that's funny to me is it's interesting. Portrait of a Lady Fire is interesting to me because you just finished saying how it's like two timid queers doesn't work. But at the same time, Portrait of a Lady on Fire almost is that, and yet it's not, right?
Yes.
Because here's the thing. When you have a queer person playing that kind of a role, here's what they are able to capture for you that works in a way that it sometimes doesn't with straight actors, is the experience of being a timid acting person who you can tell kind of knows more than they're letting on that they know. You know? Like, you can tell that this is not the first time in her head that she's like, a woman? What? Like, no, she's like, oh, a woman.
Again.
This again? But this woman might be interested. Better take this slowly and carefully and play my cards right. Right? And it's that kind of timid.
Yes. It's like literally in her head from the first moment she met her, she's like, we're going to hook up. But like,
yes,
I'll let her make the moves.
Yeah, it's like
That's
it's the type of timid move that is like, I can see where this can go, and I'm just going to be careful and see if I can get it there, you know? Like, I get the impression watching Portrait of a Lady on Fire that you're like, this probably isn't the first time that either one of them have, like, tried for this.
Oh, no. And they're like,
and they're being very careful.
Here, like,
and
this time I'll succeed.
Yeah, they're saying all the right carefully coded things, and they're looking all the right carefully coded ways, and the gazes are lingering that fraction of a second too long, and you can see they're both timid, but they're both doing the like, you're looking back. And that works. And that's the kind of thing that, like, you can tell sometimes when there's just that little queer sprinkle of realism in it, you know?
It's like when
that you're like,
out
you get it.
Yeah.
You get what this needs to look like.
When you're out at a lesbian bar and there's a girl in the corner who's like looking at you and smiling, but she's like, I'm not going to come over to you. That's what that is.
Yeah. It's the gay panic timid.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's
not
that's
the straight actor timid.
Different. Yeah. Like, it's a very different feel. It feels different when you watch it. And that's why, and you can make it work without it. I mean, obviously, like, it's not a requirement that they be queer to sell that, you know? But it's why I think the difference is, like, Gentleman Jack is not that, because Ann Lister's not timid when she's doing it.
No.
You know she knows, and she knows what she's going for, and she's just going for the kill, and she just shoots her shot no matter what, and tries to get it.
We love that about her.
And we do love that about her. Oh, God, I miss Gentleman Jack really bad right now.
I know, when's it coming back?
When is it coming back?
But that same theme is also in The Favorite, which is why, like, Rachel Weisz is like, honestly, all of them, right? Literally all three of them are actually super confident. And so you're just like, this is a film that has strong female characters. Also, I'm like, not even as a lesbian, right? Like, that's why I feel like when men write these freaking lesbian pieces, they give us like mediocre, tepid female characters.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, these female characters are so shy and feminine and blah, blah, blah. Or I'm sorry, it's just because of Ammonite. I'm like, or like completely like, I can't even with Mary Anning. She's just like, or just completely like, I have no personality. And you're just like, why are we doing this again?
Yeah, the very like spinstery lesbian archetype that I feel like that's when I'm just over. I'm just over it, you know? And so you brought up The Favorite, and let's talk about The Favorite a little bit, because The Favorite's interesting to me too, because I do like it, and it fails a lot of the things that we just talked about for me.
Straight actors, straight everything.
Straight everything, and like straight everything in a way that I don't find the chemistry totally convincing in it. And what's funny is part of the reason that it actually still works for me and I still love the movie is that it almost doesn't matter if they're gay. Because they're not in it for love. Nobody's doing this for love. They're all in it for the power. And I buy them being attracted to the power, you know?
Yes.
So I'm like, in terms of what you need to sell me on, it's the right thing. When you watch that performance, the only person who I think like really sells me on like legitimate emotional feelings is Rachel Weisz, right? The rest of it, like,
oh no, I'm not like, oh yes, I really want them to sleep with each other in this film. Like I'm not like, oh, the fire between these characters. I agree. It's like I said, it's just like powerful women.
Yeah,
who are just like
because there's not
topping each other.
You know,
like they're just continuously topping each other with their power.
They're just topping each other with their power. I'm sorry, that took me out a little bit. As much as I love Emma Stone, and I do love Emma Stone, I don't buy her as in any way actually attracted to in love with the Queen in this. Like,
but she's not. Her character isn't either.
But she's not, and she doesn't need to be for it to work, you know? And so that's a huge thing that like this setting kind of makes it unnecessary, because I feel like if The Favorite was a movie that needed to work on the chemistry of the romance, it would have fallen flat for me, you know? And it works for so many other things. And it works for like the chaos of all of the performances in it, because they're fantastic performances. That's the thing. Yes. It's not that they're not acting well. They're great acting performances. They're just not really gay. They're
gay for pay, but gay for
like, but even in the story, you know,
I'm saying the characters are literally gay for pay. They're gay they literally are.
It's meta gay for pay.
They're gay for pay, playing gay for pay.
Hey gays, we heard you like gay for pay, so we put some gay for pay in your gay for pay.
Yeah, like literally. It doesn't even sound like a word anymore.
It's not, but it's so real. It is like meta levels of gay for pay in that movie. Yeah.
Yes.
There is that. But it still works for me, and I still love it, you know? But it is another one of those movies where like everybody's kind of sad at the end of it, you know? Nobody's happy.
It does not give us a happy ending, that's for sure. No, not at all.
There's no happy ending.
No happy.
This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. And as we head into Thanksgiving time, I want to start by thanking my wife, Kelsey, who has not only listened to just about every episode of this podcast for 8 seasons now, but who also is the only reason I'm able to make time to record it every week. She takes the kids, gets them dinner, and gets them ready for bed, just so that Ellie and I can come on and yell about gay things into each other's faces for an hour. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people you're grateful for in your life, including yourself. I've been in therapy for a long time now, and one thing that's so important about therapy is how it teaches you to be more intentional. And being intentional about gratitude and how to show that to the people you appreciate is just one of the many benefits that I've gotten from therapy over the years. If you've been thinking of starting therapy, consider giving BetterHelp a try. I know how hard it can be to find time for regular therapy, and BetterHelp is designed to be flexible and convenient for your schedule. You can fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. If you want to start being more intentional about gratitude in your life, visit betterhelp.com/letshangout today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/letshangout.
Let's hang out.
For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm. For many businesses, the holiday season can be both an exciting and stressful time. With so many balls in the air, one thing you definitely want to know you can rely on is how you're selling your products. And with Shopify, you can rest easy knowing it's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. And when it comes to successful brands like Aloe, Allbirds, or Skims, an often overlooked secret is all the things that go on behind the scenes that make selling and, for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, if you take a peek behind that curtain, you'll see that Shopify is what makes it all possible. Shop Pay boosts conversions up to 50%, so that's more happy customers and way more sales going. It's true all the time, but especially this time of year, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling, on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout we use for Realm merch with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/realm, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/realm to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/realm.
This episode is brought to you by Skinny Pop Popcorn. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Oh, so light and crunchy. Skinny Pop Original Popcorn is the snack you've been searching for. Made with just 3 simple ingredients: popcorn kernels, sunflower oil, and salt. Snacking never felt or tasted so good. Perfectly popped, endlessly delicious. Give yourself permission to snack and pick up Skinny Pop Original Popcorn today.
To be had in there.
I would love to see, as we're talking about, okay, sick of period pieces, blah, blah, blah. But I would love to see more period pieces with happy endings. Like, you can I was like, don't recreate Carol. It's perfect as it is. But, like, give us, or also more playful stuff. We haven't even talked about Dickinson. Like, yeah. I love
Dickinson.
Dickinson's a period piece that's, like, fun and, like, full of
so
life.
Fun.
Like, why do all these period pieces have to be like, I'm staring into the ocean and I'm so depressed? Like, you know, we weren't there. We have no clue what these time periods were actually like besides what we hear about in history books and stuff like that, right? But, like, how are you going to just assume that, like, just because people lived a long time ago, like, they had no joy? Like, I feel like we throw this in of, like, oh, or they lived a long time ago, they never laughed.
Yeah, that's the thing that kills me, and it's funny. I had a conversation with Kelsey when we started watching Dickinson, because Dickinson is fascinating to me just as a show, right? Because I feel like if you described Dickinson to me at face value, I would say, I don't know if that would be my thing. And it works flawlessly. Mm-hmm. It is so well done. It is so perfect. The way that they write their dialogue, the way that they act it just works so well because it is so, like, it's so incongruous how they're doing it, right? That you just have this very heavy period piece setting with totally modern day speech patterns.
Yes.
Right? And the way that none of them ever act like it's weird. Like, there's no acknowledgement to it. It's not like it's just the kids talking all hip and the parents being out of touch or anything. Like, the way that it is just everybody talks like this, it is a perfectly normal thing. There's no mention, like, nobody ever pays any attention to it. It's just part of the setting. And what I think works really well about it is that realistically, like, I know we have books, we have records, we have newspapers, we have things, we have all sorts of examples of how people spoke at the time. But we look at it now as this super old-fashioned, old-timey way of speaking, and at the time it wasn't. You know? It's the same way that we look back now on, like, oh my god, when people in the 60s used to talk about stuff, and, like, it sounds so dated now.
Yeah,
but of course it didn't at the time.
Then. So that's like that's sort of my point, right? Of like, we are looking at it from the future, being like, wow, they must they're boring, they're like sad, blah blah blah. Like, what if they actually were having a freaking blast? Like, why not?
And what if they were funny and witty and clever and, like, we know they were. It's not like everybody walking around was just, like, a total
piece of
just,
toast.
Like, like, dry, drudge, just nothing. Like, people were funny. People had slang. Kids had hip things that they said to each other, you know? And, like, there is something that just works so well about, like, all I can think right now is I feel like there's one, I want to say it's probably Emily who says it. I think she says it to Austin. I'm picturing this scene where she's, like, walking past her brother and it's just like, eat shit, Austin. And I'm like, look, you expect me to believe that siblings in the early 19th century, like, were not talking to each other like that? Of course they were. They just had different
ways
words
of saying it.
That they would have used at the time. But the spirit of it is now you see them say it and you're like, yeah, I get that.
Yep.
That makes sense, you know? Like, watching
or like
Ship.
the whole scene where they're like all on drugs too. They have like this like drug-fueled high school party, right?
Oh my god.
And I'm like, that happened. Like, maybe that exact scene did not happen to Emily Dickinson, but like, don't act like these people...
with like modern day like pop R&B stuff.
Like, don't act like these people didn't party.
Yes,
like they had parties that were actually fun and cool. Like, it's like why I think Bridgerton is so popular. Like, we've talked about it on It Should Have Been Gay. Like, we won't talk about it as a lesbian period piece, but because, like, how are you going to tell me they have these huge lavish parties that were so boring?
Everyone just sat around sipping their tea and appearing perfectly composed and even presentable, and
even the people who like didn't live in these like lavish big cities, right? Like, even when you're talking about like something like The World to Come, or like, I don't know, just like any of these ones, or an Ammonite, like, to act like these people like didn't have any like jokes with each other. They were constantly just like serious, like, just doesn't feel right to me.
No, it doesn't, because it's not immersive in the way that it is, you know? Like, that's the thing, is it's like when you picture so many of these things and, you know, you have, oh, how droll this silly story you've relayed to us. Like, no, you're not in it. You're not in the moment. You are experiencing it through the lens of many, many, many decades of separation.
What people were like then, and I'm like, people have probably always been the same.
I think people have always been the same, and it surprised me when
have always
I first
been sad and staring at each other from across the room, I guess.
I mean, look, to be fair, go to a lesbian bar and tell me that that's not the same.
Oh my god, that would even be a funnier sketch. Like, I love the SNL sketch they did, right? But like, an even more hilarious sketch would be to take every activity that happens in a period piece and just throw it in a lesbian bar.
Just like, modern day lesbians at a piano bar, like teaching each other how to play a song on the piano.
Exactly. Like, literally teaching each other how to play a song on the piano, because that happens often.
Just two lesbians going on a first date at a coffee shop, just sipping, and then staring at each other and then looking away really fast.
Yes. Just like two
like,
girls.
We haven't really changed.
Two girls at the bar who like accidentally pinky touch and they're like, sorry.
Yes, but here's the thing. But give us that.
Yeah,
but give us that. And you know why? Because here's the only difference, really. Here's the only difference between period piece lesbians and modern day lesbians. The modern day lesbians might
have
get
a happy
together.
ending. Yeah.
They might fuck. They might.
To be fair, they do.
No, I know they do.
In the period pieces,
even
but we don't,
then, it's still like I don't know.
It's not satisfying. Let's talk about. Okay, let's talk about our sex. Let's rank our sex scenes in all of these. What are there any? What's your highest? Like, what's the best sex scene for you in any of these?
Oh wow, that's such a good question. I still haven't seen Ammonite, and I know that's up there on your list. So
it's not like it's the best sex scene. It's just like the fact that we barely get sex scenes. It's like the most graphic lesbian sex scene I've seen outside of the L Word in this random period piece. So it just really took me off guard.
Oh boy, I think I'm torn between Portrait and Carol. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're very different from each other.
I mean, in the sex scene in Portrait of a Lady on Fire, for me, leaves something to be desired because
they
we
both
still don't
do for
see
me.
it.
That's the thing. I know. They both do a little bit for me.
Yeah.
Because, like, the Carol, I think is a little... You see a little more of it, but at the same time, it's, like, very artsy to me still.
Yes.
You know? It's beautiful. It's beautifully done, but...
That's the thing. Like, also all... This is setting such an... Well, I'm like, not an unrealistic expectation. I'm like, okay, duh. I was like, is it unrealistic? And then I'm thinking about it. I'm like, actually, no. I'm like, lesbians, like, every time you have lesbian sex...
Tell me more, Ellie. Tell me more.
Every time you have lesbian sex, it's supposed to be, like, an art piece. Like, if I don't have, like...
Yeah, we always get our lighting just right.
Yeah, like, if I don't have artistic sex, like, am I going to be disappointed?
I want to make sure the shadows are pleasing to the eye.
Yeah, like, if it's not, like, completely...
We try to maintain a color palette that's cohesive.
Like,
no,
yeah.
I think, here's the thing. If you're going to ask me, do any of the ones on this list compare to, like, the Generation Q throuple sex scene? No.
Oh my God. Also, this is sort of a random aside, but just like lesbians know lesbians. My friend Maya is an intimacy choreographer, and she's having coffee with the intimacy choreographer who did the Generation Q throuple scene.
Oh my God. Can we like send them flowers or something? I want to send a box of chocolates.
Like, please, let me buy you a bottle of wine. Like, I'm like,
we want to treat you for treating all of us.
Right? Know? I'm like, you are?
What
the fact that I'm 1 degree of separation away from this intimacy choreographer who I admire just so much. Your work is impeccable. Like,
look, I bet
really
that's the kind of job where you don't get a lot of like overt appreciation all the time, and like we appreciate you.
We appreciate you.
We appreciate you. It was great. So that's the problem. Is like, are any of these going to stack up to that for me?
No,
not really.
No.
I mean, some of them are great, and I love them, and they're beautiful movies, and I will watch them over and over again. It's just, they're fine.
Yes.
They're fine.
I just really want a movie with a happy ending I can watch over and over again. I rewatched Debs the other day, and I was so happy.
Oh, God, I love Debs so much. I could just watch all of those things, you know, where there's been so many things on Twitter lately where they're like, if you could only watch one movie for the rest of your life, like, what would it be? And honestly, every time I see those, one of the first things that pops into my mind is Debs. I'm like, I could just watch Debs all the time, and it just makes me happy.
It's just, it's just pure
it
joy.
makes me so happy. And we don't have a lot of those, you know?
Yeah.
It's just happy start to finish. I love it so much.
But that's not what we're here to talk about.
See, and that's the thing. And watching the almost non-existent sex scene in Debs for me, I would pick over a lot of these. Because here's the problem. You look at things like The Favorite. The Favorite just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, no,
the sex scenes in it. Because because none of them are actually into each other. And so you're just like, yes. Okay. I would say... I haven't gotten to the real sex scene in Dickinson yet. I like the season 1 sex scene just because I always enjoy a period piece. Such a weird thing to say. I love a period piece where they like show women going down on each other because I feel like frequently it's a lot of like, we're just rubbing
We're
bodies
just holding each other.
together.
Yeah.
You're basically just like glorified hugging, and that's so I liked that Dickinson like right out the gate was just kind of like, and there she goes, and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
great,
Agreed.
look at you go, Sue. I mean, sure.
She knows what she's
So
doing.
I liked that. The Gentleman Jack ones I think are fun. They're just not, I think they're going for a different
Different vibe,
thing with
different vibe.
them.
But yes, the big issue that I have with these period pieces is just like the furtive glances that never turn into sex.
But tell me, because I know you've talked so much about the Ammonite one, and I know you love the Ammonite sex scene. What is it that works the most for you
what
in it?
works? What I was saying, it's just so graphic. It literally is Saoirse Ronan. It's just Saoirse Ronan sitting on Kate Winslet's face, and you see her just like sitting on her face and going for it. So it's just like the most graphic, like, like as you're like, I love someone going down on someone. It wasn't her going down on someone. She literally.
It's also a position you don't see a lot.
Yeah,
I'll
you
be
don't
honest.
really get to see that.
You
very
don't see
often.
that.
So it took me by surprise. I was like, she's really like, she's taking control, and she is on her face, and she's going for it. So that's what I liked about it. The
Excellent.
sitting.
You're like, I really dug the face sitting.
Well, it's
for
just
me.
like you're.
It's,
like,
wait, Ellie, give
It's
us
the
a
face.
good. It's the face sitting.
It's the
for
face
me.
sitting for me. But I love an active sex scene.
I feel like we need that as a quote graphic for this week.
It's the face sitting for me. That's going on. Sorry, Mom, but it's the
You're
face
welcome,
sitting for me.
Instagram.
But yes, like you're saying, it's like the active acts of sex happening on screen rather than the hugging and the covers move and you have no clue what's going on. So that was like, oh, okay, that's happening.
I'm trying to remember the sex scene in Colette. I feel like it wasn't bad.
I think it was
right?
good, but I can't remember
it was good. I might be biased just because I love Keira Knightley. So. I feel like I don't remember it being bad. Is that just me? I don't know.
I just can't remember.
I'll have to watch that. I should have rewatched all the sex scenes for all of these before
Let's just do a compilation. Well, it wouldn't be a lot of sex. It'd just be like,
I know.
And
it would
and
just be
scene.
a lot of shadows and sheets.
And scene and scene and scene.
Sheets and shadows
sheets.
and shoulder blades. You get a lot of the artful shoulder and shoulder blade.
I do love a good back.
The trace of a thigh, you know. Yeah, we get a lot of backs. We do
a
get
lot
a lot
of
of
backs. I think that is like stuck with me subconsciously. I'm like, oh, I love women's backs. I don't know why. Now,
yeah,
I know why.
because let's take a let's take a detour into sex scenes for a second, because here's what I think is funny is I'm trying to think of so many, like, what would I compare these to for like the straight movie equivalent of these sex scenes, and I feel like for straight sex scenes, like, sometimes they almost don't even have to do anything, right? Because they're just like, just vague thrusting motions is enough. And when you can't do that, it's really funny to watch the alternatives that they come up with.
Oh, yeah,
you
because
know?
they're just like, okay, well, we're doing lesbian thrusting now.
Yeah,
And you're
but like you can't really show that very well, or if you can, it's almost, you're like, I don't know. And so instead you just end up with these like, I'm just going to be grabbing your back. I'm just pulling you close. And you're like, but that's not with both hands? Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's nothing's happening with the other hand.
So you're doing nothing right now, I guess. Okay. Who is doing? So no, both your hands are there. Okay.
Yep. I know. Grabbing backs, grabbing arms, grabbing thighs, grabbing nothing else.
Grabbing nothing else. So, it's fine.
So yes, lesbian sex scenes in the gay teen hundreds, quite disappointing. And I really think in real life, if any of these lesbians were alive right now, like, I mean, they'd be very old, but they'd be like, you fucked it up. They'd be like, that's not what we did.
If Mary Anning was alive.
Mary Anning's like, well, actually, Mary Anning would be like, yeah, she did sit on my face that one time. I do remember that.
The rant she would give about.
She's like,
God, you know who I bet
she's like,
would,
I was
though?
so much better at sex than you portrayed me as.
Can't you imagine Ann Lister? I bet Ann Lister was like a fucking demon in the sack. Like, I bet she would watch some of these things and be like, fuck you guys, I was better than that.
Exactly. She'd be like, you didn't even put that move in? That was my signature. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm dying. I'm trying to figure out how we got on to say Mary Anning and Ann Lister were alive today to tell us their signature sex moves.
They'd be pissed.
Would it be face sitting, yes or no? Amazing. I'm so glad we started a podcast.
Me too, so we could talk about these things. So
We're like both crying right now.
I know.
It's fine.
So I think that's enough of the sex scenes for now. We have talked about the sex scenes for longer than lesbian sex scenes exist in these period pieces.
I mean, 1000% yes. So let's talk about another issue that we have with these movies, which I'm going to call hashtag lesbian movies so white.
So white.
So white. It's just, here's the other issue with period pieces, because it's a problem with period pieces in general, right? And again, we talked about this with Bridgerton a little bit as well, that it's refreshing sometimes to see a period piece with anybody who is not white, but it's such a trap that so many of these fall into as well, which is, as soon as you get into period pieces, everyone is like, well, black people were discovered until 1948. And you're like, I don't think that's the case, actually. Yep. There were people who were not white through most of the history of the world. It's always been like that.
All of history.
All of the history of the world. There have been people of color in existence, and you sure don't see them in any of these movies.
No.
So I feel like that's, The World Unseen is one of the ones that sticks out here for that, as just having actual people of color who are acting and writing in the movie. And it's just, there's not a lot of the rest of these that you can say that about. I'm like, I'm trying to figure out if there's any others on this list.
I don't think that there are. I mean, and if there are, let us know. But yeah, I mean, that's a huge problem. I mean, that's a huge problem with lesbian movies in general.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so if you were going to say most of these are before 1950, then people have an excuse, not a valid excuse, but like, people who are making the films are going to be like, oh, well, we had to do it this way. I keep doing quotation marks. You can't see the quotation marks. We had to do it this way. And so we're never going to get the representation, like the actual diversity of representation that we should be getting in our queer rep.
It is exhausting. It's exhausting because you're just like, it's 2021.
Just do better. Do better.
Just do better. It's not like this is a new thing. This is not a realization that people suddenly had of like, wait a second, black people were alive then too. Like, no, this has been for a long time being pointed out that like this was not a thing. This was not an all-white homogenous time period. Like,
and
it's
here we are.
Not historically accurate even, and it's another thing that's really depressing because, again, as this becomes so much more common, that, again, the amount of queer rep that is just all white is, it's a lot. It's excessive and it's unnecessary, and it feels like it's not going to change if they just keep making these movies, because it is just such a problem to get any Hollywood thing to make anything but an all-white period piece.
And we don't want them. We're done with them.
I'm a little over it.
We're done with them.
I'm a little over it. So
yes, agreed.
I would love to see either, like, even if you're gonna do a period piece, like, give us a period piece with black leads or anything, like, because even I'm thinking like Dickinson, I know they have a decent number of black people in the cast, but even then, like, it's hard because it's just, well, they're all supporting and they're all kind of like, I mean, they're not slaves because they're in Massachusetts and they didn't have slaves, and they're like working with them, but there's still, there's kind of that stratification of where they fall in the social ladder, that they still can't kind of get past. And so, yeah, they don't have the same types of storylines. They don't have the same place in, like, the same relevance in the cast and a lot of things. So, yeah, it's just, there's just not much you can say about it. They're very white, and we're tired of it. Please do better.
Yes. And additionally, they're very white, and they also, even though they are about women, tend to center around men.
Yeah. So it's hard because, again, it's like you're putting it's in this time period where the same problem that you have with you can't have happy endings, is like you're casting everything into this time period where, like, society only cared about men.
Therefore, they don't care about these two lesbians, and they sure as hell don't care to let them be together.
No.
And
it's frequently, it's like the women have no agency in their own stories because everything is dependent on their father's whims or wishes, or their husband's whims and wishes, or the man that they're being married off to, or it's just, I mean, it's all, who's the man who is holding them back from their forbidden love? And you're like, okay.
I don't care about them. I don't
all
want them.
the men,
I don't need
guess.
Them. Every man in society. But yeah, I don't care about them so much. We barely even need to talk about them. But it is important.
Why are men?
It is important to talk about because it's a big part of why lesbian period pieces have similar tropes.
And it's so funny because it's like, look, like, ask most lesbians, queer women. We spend so little time in our life focused entirely on men,
I don't know the last time I've spoken to a man. I'm just kidding. I have a brother, but like that's outside of my family.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you. No, I do have friends. I do have male friends, but still, sometimes I forget. This is a total tangent. I went to New York to visit some friends. I'm fully vaccinated, ready to go and have a good time. I took the train for the first time in a really long time. And I know that all sounds very anxiety provoking, but I forgot that men would hit on me. I literally forgot. I got on this train. I looked this man in the eyes because he was walking near me. And my first instinct was like, oh, a new person. Smile. Smile with my eyes. You couldn't see my mouth. But I smiled at him and I was like, damn, I forgot that that's an invitation for a man. It's not an invitation, but
it's been such a chill year on that front.
Yeah, it's been such a great year for me to not be in public and only be around queer women when I ever went in public, that I literally forgot that men exist and that men, if they see you, will try to hit on you. I forgot. So it was a great, really lovely time on the train.
Welcome back, world.
Welcome back.
Thanks. We hate it.
Yeah, God damn it, men. Yeah, so that was fun. But yes, we don't need them in our period pieces. We just don't.
We really don't. It's just tiring. It's the same thing. It's just tiring to see over and over again because you watch these movies and it creates this impression that lesbian lives, queer women's lives, just revolve around men, and they don't. They
really don't.
Listen, straight listeners, they don't.
They don't.
They really just, are kind of a afterthought most of the time. I mean,
yep. Nothing against you all men, even though I was like, damn it, man. But just not a part of my life really that often. At least in a romantic way. Good friends, but that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's to wrap up. Let's discuss. How do we feel?
Have we reached our conclusion?
Yeah.
We've tied this all in a pretty little knot.
How do we feel about period pieces?
Look, some of them are great. Some of them are okay. Overall, please stop making them and make us some, fun, happy modern movies with queer people of diverse ethnicities and races and backgrounds and stories that don't center men and that occasionally can have a happy ending, and like maybe hire the intimacy person from the Generation Q to do all of the movies, please. And thank you.
Please,
I think that's the
that's
wrap
the
up,
bow.
right?
That's the bow.
Yeah, what's their name? Hire them. We want them.
Hire them.
They're great.
It's time. Let's do our Q and Gay. I'm ready.
Oh my god. Okay. Are you ready? Because I'm excited for these.
Q and gay.
Okay. Question 1, Ellie. What's your favorite lesbian period piece out of the following 4 choices? A. Carol. B. Gentleman Jack. C. Portrait of a Lady on Fire. Or D. Dickinson.
I have to go with D. Dickinson. I want something lighthearted. I'm much more of a fan of a comedy. I think all those other films, actually, I would say Dickinson or Gentleman Jack. Honestly, all amazing films and TV shows, but I'm going to go with Dickinson.
A good answer.
All right, question number 2. How would you die in a lesbian period piece? A. Consumption. B. Cholera. C. Childbirth. Or D. Rheumatism.
So many good choices here. It's just a really tough call. I'll go with C. Childbirth, Because, let's be real. If I hadn't had an epidural, I'm not going to promise I would have made it.
Oh my God. I'm glad you got an epidural.
It was great. Can't recommend it enough. Just a good time. Question 3. What's your favorite period piece flirting move? A. A furtive glance. B. A well-timed gasp. C. Suggestive language. Or D. Some lingering finger grazes.
Okay, for me, it's between C and D. I really love a finger graze. It always gets me. But I think I'm going to go with C because I like the wittiness of the suggestive language. You can really do some interesting things if you actually, are going to try to do it well and have this flirty lesbian period piece.
I'm going to put Ann Lister up there on the, Gentleman Jack gets some high marks for the suggestive language.
Question number 4. Which period piece has the best sex scene? A. Carol, B. Ammonite, C. Colette, or D. Gentleman Jack?
Well, look, I haven't even seen
Lady
it.
On Fire.
I haven't even seen it, but I feel like I have to pick Ammonite now because
of
I'm
the
sold.
sitting on the
I'm
face.
sold. I'll look it up. I'll just
watch it, please. Watch it.
Okay. And question 5, Ellie, which era would you want to live in? A, the 1700s, B, the 1800s, C, the 1920s, or D, the 1950s?
I know,
the only options.
Yeah,
for
the
lesbians.
only options for eras, but for lesbians, yeah. I feel like I'm just gonna go with the 1950s because it's the closest to now. Even though
they had cars and phones, just a lot of stuff going for it.
I feel like I could figure out how to be slightly independent from a man in the 50s, slightly.
Yeah,
you're
not looking for a chamber pot era. I get it.
Yeah, just
That's
not
fine.
for me. Remember, you can give us your own answers to this episode's Q&A questions on our Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
Let me hear you say hip, 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 we're gay.
We love hearing from all of you. We love continuing to build this community, so we just like to shout out some of our favorite things that we've heard from our listeners every episode. And this week, we want to shout out someone who reached out through our website to let us know they listened to the Elena Undone episode and they wanted to let us know about a YouTube video that you, fair listeners, can all go on and find for yourselves. It is called the Real Premiere, REEL, of Elena Undone, and it is footage from the after party of the Elena Undone premiere back in 2010, and it is a joy. What a gay joy to watch. Just queer fun. It's making me so nostalgic for leaving my house and seeing other humans, and especially being in a space just chock full of super queer people. It looked like a blast, and thank you so much, Danny, for telling us about it because that just made us so happy.
It completely made my night. I need a gay party and we need it now. I wish I was at that Elena Undone party, but we can make up for lost time, my friends.
Accurate.
As always, we want to thank our lesbian Jesus patrons, Mark Foster,
Jess Klaus,
Tanya Ferguson,
Jacqueline Rose Nishino,
Sarah and Julia,
Carrie-Ann Lawrence,
Danny Gunlock Tamora,
Brittany Ray,
Alana Rosen,
Tara Gleason,
and Lizette Stye.
And our King Princess patrons, Amy and Ellen,
Leah Henley,
Liz Chen,
and Evelyn Smith. Thank you all so much. We could not do this show without you, and we really, really appreciate your support. Remember, you can also find us on all the social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Let's Hang Out Pod.
You can email us at letshangoutpod@gmail.com.
Or you can check out our website at letshangoutpod.com.
Whatever app you use to listen to podcasts, make sure that you subscribe. That way you'll get new episodes as soon as they go up.
Also, make sure you subscribe to The Flame on any podcasting app. You just look up The Flame Podcast Musical and it will show up. We are so close to release.
We also still have videos going up on our YouTube channel. You can subscribe at youtube.com/letshangoutpod to make sure you don't miss those.
If you want to support the podcast, the easiest way to do that is to rate and review us on iTunes. We love hearing what you have to say.
You can support us financially by joining our Patreon. You can find it at bit.ly/lespatreon. We have so many cool perks. You can join our Discord chat for our patrons. We have so much fun in there. We have watch parties for our Les Essentials viewings and all sorts of good stuff, so don't miss out. And we also have a Patreon specifically for The Flame that helps support that project and also helps us maybe make more musicals down the line if you enjoy this one. You can find that at bit.ly/theflamepatreon.
If you want some Les Hangout merch, you can get that at bit.ly/lesshop. It is the perfect time to get your Porch Pride gear or to get your Pride gear in general. Our entire shop is just a Pride shop. So get your gayest designs at bit.ly/lesshop.
If you want to follow us individually, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at LSH Foster.
And you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Ellie Brigida. With that, I'm Ellie.
And I'm Lee. And let's hang out again soon.
Let's hang out.
Ladies and gentlemen.
What are you doing?
What do you mean?
Just keep it simple.
I'm making the promo.
Just keep it simple. Just say, hey, we're the Brav Bros. Two guys that talk about Bravo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we're the Brav Bros.
No.
Oh.
Dude, stop with the voice. Just keep it simple.
I've seen promos on TV, dude. This is how you get the fans engaged. This is how you get listeners. We're trying to get listeners here. If we just say, oh, we're two dudes that talk about Bravo, people are going to get tired of it already. We need some oomph.
All right, then fine. Let's try to do it with your voice.
Brav Bros.
Good job.